Good morning, listeners, and welcome back to the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming of RCS Technology Solutions, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs attract, convert, and retain their ideal customers and clients to achieve even greater success using various Internet marketing techniques and methods. The name of this show is Internet Marketing and Business Solutions with Ron Couming, and what we try to do is every week we try to bring on subject matter experts, which I've done pretty much every week since the show's inception a couple of years ago. These subject matter experts will talk about their line of work, but they'll also talk about being an entrepreneur and how they maybe were initially working as a W-2 employee and then went out on their own, their transitions, their pitfalls, and over the years as an entrepreneur, what they went through and how they overcame them. And hearing these things will help you, being a business owner and an entrepreneur, one, realize that you're not alone, that other people have had similar issues, and then it might help you understand how to get through and get over some of these issues. Every single guest is invited personally by myself, and they're all vetted by me. So our guest today in our first section is Billy Sheehan. He's known as Billy the Coach. And Billy the Coach Sheehan is an executive health strategist with over 25 years of experiencing helping time-challenged executive balance personal health with successful careers. Through executive coaching, speaking, and workshops, Billy the Coach shares proven strategies that improve well-being, lower stress, facilitate change, and increase productivity for executives and their employees. Welcome, Billy.
Ron, good morning. Great to be here.
Great to have you. Thank you for blessing us with your experience and sharing some of your tips and techniques with us.
Thank you, Ron.
Where are you calling in from, Bill?
I am calling in from my home office in Exeter, New Hampshire. Been working with clients this morning on the phone, and delighted that we were able to put this together to get together on your show and hopefully give your listeners some valuable information.
I'm sure they will. I've spoken to you on several occasions, and I know that what you have to offer is valuable. But just right up front, even though you're in New Hampshire, you can certainly work with people over the phone, over the Internet, webinars, whatever the case may be. So location is not an issue. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and certainly in your line of work, Ron, you know the mechanics of all of this. The Internet has done just amazing things, even though it's barely gotten started. The technology is changing everything. It's changing everything about everything. So it enables a couple of interesting things. First of all, it enables a person like myself to share 60,000 hours of expertise with people around the planet, which I've been doing for years. The other thing that's interesting in my world, Ron, the Internet has done something that has never occurred in human history before. The Internet has revealed who we are as a species on a larger scale than ever before. And number two, it's revealed who we are as a species in a more detailed, more granular level than we've ever had before. And that is part of what I believe is contributing to the evolutionary leap at which we're currently encountering here today.
I agree with you, and borders are pretty much no longer the norm. And like this radio show, I'm actually at the station today, and when I came in, it was like my third week in a row, and that's unheard of. Even my engineer, when I came in, he said, wow, this is the third week in a row. And the station owner, I saw him, because normally I'll call in. I travel the country, and I speak on Internet marketing and business development to companies using the Internet and online marketing. So I'll call in from California, Miami, or Texas,
Sure.
or I'll be in Arizona in the near future, in Chicago. So I agree with you, and I just wanted the listeners to know that what they hear from you, and when they contact you, that location is not a barrier.
Yeah, and on that note, Ron, I thought what I would do, again, love being on your show. I just love helping people. I mean, this is such an extraordinary methodology of behavior management that we've worked out that it would be a sin to keep it from anybody. So what I thought I would do, and maybe we can mention this again before we're done, but I'd like to offer any of your listeners, the first 10 people that connect with me, if you go to www.billythecoach.com, and there's right at the top of the page, there's a connect button. You hit that contact. Hit that contact button. It's just going to send me your name and email address. The first 10 people, the first 10 listeners to your show, Ron, I will be more than happy. I'd be thrilled, frankly, to provide a complimentary consultation where simply I'll just say hello and see how I might be able to use my skills to help them with their particular situation, whether it be health or nutrition or stress, whatever it might be. So,
wow, that's huge. Listeners, you just got 10 free sessions. I love it. I'll be honest with you. My guests don't get paid to do the show. I don't get paid to do the show. We don't charge our guests to do the show.
Nope.
This is all everybody giving back and just trying to help business owners and entrepreneurs. The radio station, Sam, gives us this time. It's such a blessing. And so I don't ask the guests to give away free stuff. But so thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Well, and Ron, I'll tell you, I think part of health, part of getting it right, people don't have to suffer, people don't have to be run over by chronic disease. There's a way that you can manage things that brings the craziness of life to serve you rather than to crush you. And Ron, you and I, to what you just said, no, I'm not getting paid to be here. I'm not looking to get paid for those complimentary sessions. Ron, you and I first met when we were both compelled by our values and our sense of compassion. We met at a fundraiser for domestic violence programs. And now here we are on the radio show, and it wouldn't surprise me if if we get some of your listeners to come in, and they're going to hear things, they're going to find out, they're going to know things that they didn't know before that might be very, very helpful to them. So that's a beautiful thing, Ron. And here we got, once again, it's all happening through this new and unprecedented connectivity of technology.
I love it. Now, Bill, like you said, I met you at that fundraiser for domestic violence on a rape and abuse center up in New Hampshire that we met at Bridges. But I've met you and I've spoken to you many times since then, and so I'm very familiar with who you are and what you do. And I read your bio, but can you give the listeners more about, a little bit more about, who you are, how you got into this, and what you do?
Absolutely. So in 1989, Ron, my partner and I formed what grew to be the largest personal training, fitness training, and nutrition consulting company in New England. And we had 6 different offices. We were in downtown Boston. We were kind of on the front of that personal training wave. This is before there was really any personal training, any CrossFit, anything like that. And so from there, I began accumulating my experience as Billy the Coach, working with human beings from every fitness level, every age, every economic and social background. It was just a fabulous experience to get to really know the animal that I was working with. And so along the way, it became apparent to me that physical fitness is really a function of thinking. People that it's a behavioral process by which people can create the type of physical life they want, the type of mental life they want, the type of professional life they want. And through that process, this is where I was working mostly with executives and company owners. I understood their situations, the stress. I was a business owner and running companies. This is my 30th year as an entrepreneur. And so I became very tuned in to the particular challenges and stresses regarding health and fitness and stress that business owners were experiencing. And that's how I came to be Billy the Coach, Executive Health Strategist. The truth of the matter is this, Ron, and this is throughout the process, basically we created a concept called behavioral conditioning. And I'd like your listeners to really just hear what I'm saying right now, because this is a game changer. And I've earned my stripes over many years to convey this with full confidence. This is a real game changer. We figured out a process by which a person can manage their physical and mental affairs. It's called behavioral conditioning. It's based on a very simple principle. Just as a trainer can take you into a gym and teach you or condition your body through fitness training, any individual can learn this method for managing the way they think to create an intentional state of behavioral conditioning. And when you understand that for thousands of years, scholars, scientists, philosophers have been stating over and over, we are what we think. Our reality is created by the thoughts that we either subscribe to or reject. That, combined with what's coming in out of neuroscience and neurobiology today, confirms an extraordinarily powerful concept. You are not what you were. You are what you choose right now. Let me say that again. I cannot emphasize how game-changing this is, Ron, in terms of health and stress management. You are not what you were. You are what you choose right now in this moment.
Wow. And so that's pretty deep. How can people start the process of changing to understand that this is factual, to understand that this is something that they should strive for or at least consider, and how it will help them? So what would be some way that people could actually start down that road?
Yes, well, I'll give you the. I'll tell you. Again, this isn't difficult, Ron. This is something, and if anyone wants to write this down, I'll give you a second. Grab a piece of paper. I'm going to give you two lists. One of them has 5 items, and the other one has 3. And if you adopt this, if you begin this process, and I am more than happy, and obviously me and Ron being on this show, there are people there willing to support you. Absolutely. Free to contact me. I'll give you my phone number. You've got my email address, my web address. Okay? Here's how you begin, Ron. There are 5 things. In order to be a behaviorally conditioned person, you basically have to do 5 things. Number 1, you have to exercise regularly. Given the fact that a person's cognitive ability is so dependent upon their physical health, you must exercise regularly, number 1. Number 2, you must eat responsibly. Contrary to the belief in our PC world, chronic overweight, obesity, is not a normal condition for the human body. It's a toxic condition for the human body. Just as if you held a person underwater, they're going to drown. If a person is chronically overweight, they are going to become detached from that optimal state of good physical health. Number 3, you have to rest sufficiently. Nature requires that we give 1/3 of our life back to the state of sleep. It's critically important. We have to learn to manage the way we think in such a way that we're not doing busy craziness in our head when we should be sound asleep. I'll give you this list again, Ron, just when we're done. Number 4, a human being must learn constantly. Ron, look at you and I, right? We just met, a few weeks ago. We've had conversations. I've learned a lot from you. I think you're learning from me. And I got a feeling there's nothing but open field running. It's about learning constantly, new experiences, new stimulus. Ron, there's ancient philosophies that show that a man is what he thinks. But what's new is the new science, the new technologies that allow us to understand that neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, once thought to belong just to children, happens throughout life. In order to really optimize the mind-body connection, we have to keep learning. Number 5, after 60,000 hours in the people fitness business, this is the one I believe is most important. Number 5, live in the present. Live in the moment. And I know that sounds a little amorphous right in the beginning, but again, it's a very learnable skill. The reason why, everything in your life happens in the moment. And if you want to control what's going on in your life, It only makes sense to be in that place where everything is happening. So, again, how do we begin? I'll give you the 5 again. You have to exercise regularly, number 1. Number 2, eat responsibly. Number 3, rest sufficiently. Number 4, learn constantly. And number 5, live presently. Be good at what you're doing now, and you'll find that you've been good at managing your life.
Wow. And I just want to let the listeners know that if they were unable to write any of that down, this episode, as all episodes, will be archived in a couple of days, both on the radio station 980 WCAP's website. Just go up to the right-hand side and click on Archives, or Internet Marketing and Business Solutions with Ronald Couming radio show. But it will also be listed on my website, RCS Technology Solutions. Just go to the Media tab, and the second or third one down should be radio show. So Billy's given us some incredible first steps and advice on what is needed so far, and I'm sure we're going to get even more. But just remember that you're going to have to, in anything. I know me, I hear something 2 or 3 times, 4 times. I hear something new each time. So feel free to go back and listen to those, as well as Billy's going to be giving us his contact information soon. So go ahead, Bill. Tell us some more, brother.
Yeah, so there's one more list, Ron, and just again for your listeners, anybody can contact me. Just go to www.billythecoach.com, and you can get in touch with me directly. I'd be happy to help you, because that's what motivates me, and to help people and to have that help flow through to a person's spouse, to their children, to their career, is a really fabulous gift. So, Ron, we just went over the 5 things that a person needs to do in order to really optimize the resources that we know exist internally in every human being, without exception. 0 exception. They're there. Now, people hear, okay, well, Billy, exercise regularly. Number 1, that's a game changer for me right there, because I've been trying to exercise consistently all my life, and it's not happening. Well, this is where, Ron, if I was working with a person, I would challenge them to recognize, I would encourage them to recognize the illusion under which they're thinking. This idea that what you were somehow determines what you are right now. That's delusional. That's not true. And if a person makes the choice, regardless of what happened in the past, regardless of how populated their past is with success or failure, they can make a choice right now that will change everything in their life. Everything. That's undeniable. Okay? Now, so how do you position yourself? What if I want to do these 5 things, Billy, okay? Well, there's 3 rules. There's basically 3 rules to behavioral conditioning. Okay? I just gave you the steps that you would take if you want to be behaviorally conditioned rather than behaviorally vulnerable. Right? You've got to exercise, eat right, sleep, learn, live presently. Okay? Now, in order to facilitate that, here are the 3 rules that anyone can learn, and it will change everything about your life. I'll be happy to explain why. Number 1, focus on what you can control. Don't be distracted by anything else. Focus on what you can control. Don't be distracted by anything else. That's a learnable skill. Rule number 2, if you're going to accept a behavior, it's imperative that you accept the consequence. If you want to eat without discipline, if you're going to accept that behavior, then accept the fact that you are flirting, that you may have to live as a chronically overweight person, as a type 2 diabetic, as a heavily medicated human being. Number 2, if you're going to accept a behavior, it's imperative to accept the consequence. And number 3, Ron, is so important. It's the very same thing as number 5 on the other list. Learn to live presently. Ron, I know a little bit about you. I've learned a little bit about your family. I learned a little bit about Ron Couming. The fact of the matter is, and I have a wife of almost 40 years, kids, beautiful children and grandkids. The simple fact of the matter is that the Ron Couming Show, right now, right here, is Billy Sheehan's life. And that's what I'm focused on. And I've learned how to do this. And when it comes time for me to put down everything on my desk and give an hour to the maintenance of my physical, mental, and emotional well-being, that will be now. And I will make the right choice. It doesn't make life perfect. Nothing can make life perfect. But it makes life an extraordinarily different, positive experience.
I love it. And I don't, to me, like, these steps they're doable. So people who are hearing them and, well, I don't have time to exercise. Well, of course you do. Sometimes people spend more time, watching TV or doing things that are just distracting them or filling their day. And if they did a little bit less of those, they would have a little more time for some other things. I don't want to oversimplify it. But if somebody right now, let's say that they feel that they're so busy, I mean, you're going to have the naysayers, and sometimes it's really hard to work with those people because you want the people who want to change their lives, you know what I mean? But you also want to help other people as well. So let's say we have three types of people. One person who hears this and says, hell yeah, I'm all in. Another person who hears this and says, I love it, I need it, I just don't know how to incorporate it. How can I incorporate it? Can you just give me a little more guidance so I can just get over, whatever fear or doubt is holding me back? And then we have the third type of person who's like, well, that sounds great, but it's not going to work for me because I don't have the time and he doesn't understand my situation. So can we just address those three levels? Because I think that would cover just about everybody.
Ron, this is so cool, right? You're such a sharp guy, and I just want to say to your listeners, for folks that might consider doing business with Ron, everybody makes their own decisions, obviously, but I love the way this guy thinks. And here's a good example. Okay, those three questions, those three examples you just came up with, Ron, I love it, and let me address each one of them. Okay, the person who's all in, they're ready. They're ready. They have come to that point. There's a piece in the Billy the Coach program guide that says change occurs when the pain of the status quo exceeds the pain of change. So the person who's all in, Ron, they're hearing what they've suspected all their life, that yes, I can. Right? They're recognizing the frailty of this, the obsolescence of this BS story they've been telling themselves for so long that they can't. I've been in the health and fitness business for 30 years. I've worked with thousands of people. I've spoken to thousands of people in my speaking audiences, and I've never met one that could not take steps to improve their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. It's just not there. It's part of this. It's frankly the voice of I'm not ready. So the guy who's all in, Ron, he's ready to go. The perfect convergence of time and opportunity. The second person, right? Well, how can I? How can I start this? How can I begin? Right? I think that was the second one you mentioned. Correct? It sounds good, but how can I? How do I start? Where do I begin? That's where, Ron, where we are trying to get people to think in the moment, think right now. What could you do? Right? The first thing that a person needs to do in order to improve the physicality in their life, their physical fitness, don't put on your sneakers. Forget your sneakers. Grab your schedule, because physical fitness is a function of time. And these people, by the way, Ron, again, if there's one thing, one thing, take away those two lists that I gave you, but here's another critically important thing. Ron, people have to realize, like I said, we understand who we are. We understand the world we live in. We understand history so much more better than we did, and we can apply this knowledge in ways we couldn't before. Ron, for all of those people who love to take the lowest hanging fruit on the tree of excuses. I don't have time. It's completely false. It's impossible, as a matter of fact, for these simple reasons. Every single human being that ever existed had the same amount of time as anybody else. It's a moot point.
Yep, that's so true.
Okay? Tom, not a single human being in the world ever had more or less time than any other human being. Why? Because there's no such thing as more time. All there is the present. All there is now. And when you learn the power of now, you realize that your life is always new. Forget about it. There's no such thing as more time. There's no such thing as less time. There is only now. What do you choose now? That's the difference between people who are able to facilitate their life with the catalysts of physical fitness, mental sanity, because they prioritize the establishment and maintenance of these physical and psychological conditions as a priority. It's got nothing to do with time. It's all now.
I love it.
And for the third person, Ron, I think we're kind of referring to the naysayers. Hey, it sounds great, but this isn't for me. Ron, it's really funny when you see a person, when you tell a person, look, the sobering scientific reality is that an individual creates the experience around them by virtue of how they think. The funniest thing is when somebody will say back to you, they'll say back to me, well, I don't think so. Do you see the irony there?
Yep, very much so.
Your life is what you think. And then the person says, well, I don't think so. Well, there you go. There's no getting around it. And that's what I mean, Ron. Ron, I was over at Harvard Medical. I don't mean to name drop. This is for people. This is for everybody. Anybody can do this. Everybody has the seeds of greatness in them. You don't need permission from your HMO doctor. You don't need any wisdom. You don't need money. You need belief in yourself. That's what you need. Understand that it's now. And if you're too nervous or too intimidated or too stuck in the past, then wait a couple of hours. And when you finally revisit this consciousness we're talking about, guess what time it's going to be then?
Yeah.
It's going to be now. It's always now. And the opportunity is always there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, Bill Gates and all these other people who have done tremendous things. I'm a geek, so naturally I go to people like him and Jeff Bezos. I mean, he used to work at McDonald's, and now he's got $60 billion more than the second richest businessman, right? He owns Amazon.
Great.
So, but my point is, they all had the same amount of time in every day. It just it matters how you prioritize it. And yes, some people have, families, and some don't. Some people have more responsibilities than others. But as far as in a pure sense, everybody has the exact same amount of time.
Correct.
We have probably 7 minutes left, and I would love for you to first give out your contact info, and then focus on whatever it is you want the listeners to take away and compel them to reach out to you.
Thank you, Ron. If I can help any of your listeners, I hope they will avail themselves of the opportunity to let me share 30 years of experience helping manage human lives with them. It would be my pleasure. I'd be honored to speak with them. They can go to www.billythecoach.com, B-I-L-L-Y, billythecoach.com, and they can hit the Contact Us feature. Again, I'm going to provide a complimentary consultation to the first 10 Ron Couming listeners that contact me, that connect with me. So, billythecoach.com. You can email me if you'd like at btc@billythecoach.com, btc@billythecoach.com, or feel free to call my office if you would like. I'm happy to share my number with you, 603-580-4708, 603-580-4708.
Excellent. And just again, in case the listeners, you don't have an opportunity to write this down right now, this episode, as all episodes, will be archived both on 980 WCAP's website and my website, RCS Technology Solutions. .com in a couple of days, probably by the end of this week for sure. So go back, listen to the episode, but also get Billy's contact information. And the first 10 of you get a free consultation. That's huge, man. I might take one of those, so there might only be 9 left. No, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. But Billy, you've given. I mean, there are so many. The world's in such a place now. Forget just about politics, but let's just talk about like opportunities. And I think a lot of it has, we hear stories about people who've overcome, huge tragedies. I mean, we got huge, like Oprah Winfrey. I mean, just regular, normal, not people who went on to, change the world with respect to like computers and stuff. But Oprah Winfrey and many other people had, horrific childhoods and things that happen to them, but so haven't many other people. And what happens is a lot of times it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it. You know what I mean? It's how do you let it cripple you or do you let it empower you? And it sounds to me like it's that mindset, and that you help people, whatever blocks are preventing them from achieving even greater success or having that mental and emotional happiness that they seek. So it really sounds to me like you help people get clear on what it takes to get there, and then you actually help them and give them the tools to get there too.
Yeah, well, I love the point that you just made, Ron. As I said earlier, the Internet has revealed who we are as a species on a larger scale than ever before. You just mentioned adversity. For every human being which has been laid low, has been trounced by adversity, there is another individual who is been elevated by it. I mean, frankly, personally, Ron, my dad was an alcoholic all his life. I have a brother who died as an IV drug addict at the age of 33. So I'm pretty well versed in the dark side of human choice. But it was that experience and the cumulative experience that I had that revealed to me the extraordinary, boundless power of human choice if an individual is willing to look inside and find it. So that's a big deal, Ron. It really, what is the difference? Why does adversity contribute to some people's success, and why does it crush others? And the difference is exactly what you said. It is how we respond to it. Ron, a human being does not create the reality around them by controlling external forces. That's not how it works. A human being creates the reality they experience by the choice of how they react to the external forces happening around them.
I love it.
That is a power that every human being has. It's extraordinary. It is barely even understood. It's barely discussed at the scientific level right now. But, Ron, I'm looking at an article. I pulled it up just real quick to close out here. Ron, the CDC said that suicides in the United States, the country with the greatest quality of life ever on the planet, suicide rates in the United States have increased in some states by 30% since 1999. It is a very unfamiliar, very stressful environment that we live in today as a species. As someone said, we're primitive brains navigating an unfamiliar environment. So the ability to focus on what you can control and not be distracted by anything else brings with it a freedom, a disconnecting from the madness that suffocates the creativity, the gratitude, and the potential of countless human beings. That does not need to happen anymore. And me being on your radio show, Ron, however small an example it may be, is living proof that that no longer needs to be. Change the way you think, and you will change everything in your life.
I love it. And you know, some listeners, I want you to understand that this is the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming. That goes without question. How this ties in, when you're in business, when you're in life, period, if you can get a hold of your thinking, your feeling, your active, your activities, everything changes. So if you can get the fundamentals, your core strong, then it's going to help you in your business. Now, I'm going to get in the next section, I'm going to give you some advice on, you know, HTTPS and some changes that are coming. So that's more technical stuff. But you also have to take care of these fundamental things because they will prevent you from achieving even greater success in business. So Billy will help people, both business and personal, achieve even greater success. So the vast majority of our listeners, if you're a business person and you're saying, well, this doesn't help me make a funnel, well, you're right, it doesn't. That will be the next section, right? But this will help you have an overall better, more successful business and a better overall, more successful life, and be happy, right? And we'll worry about the technical stuff in the next thing. But you've got to have, you got to have your fundamentals strong, and that's why I bring on. I sometimes I'll have on people with nutrition, because a lot of times people will get so focused in their work, they're not eating right, they're not sleeping right, they're not taking care of themselves, and then they burn out, and it prevents them from achieving even greater success. So if we can get someone like you in here to help people, you know, it negates it. It will help prevent that from even happening, right?
Absolutely, Ron. You talk about technology, Ron, and there is no greater force on earth than a focused human mind governing a healthy human brain. There is no greater force, there is no greater technology on the planet. And if you are truly committed to yourself, to your family, to your career, to your country, you will recognize that and stand bravely in front of that reality. And if you really want to do excellence, if you want to really create a life of excellence and take real optimal advantage of this one time we get to go through life, there's your ticket right there.
I love it. Billy, I want to thank you so much. And to the listeners, and we'll be in touch, Billy, and I'll get you the clip to this, and it'll be up on the archive for the listeners. I want to thank you, Billy, from billythecoach.com, for giving us your insights and experiences and helping people understand different ways that they can achieve even greater success by ensuring that their cores and fundamentals are taken care of. You've been listening to the Internet Marketing and Business Solutions radio show with Ron Couming of RCS Technology Solutions, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs achieve even greater success by attracting, converting, and retaining their ideal customers and clients using various internet marketing techniques and methods.